What did you need earlier, Destiny?
Non-viable pregnancy or
How do you deal with the fact that people are born into states that they don't consent to being born into? Is there like a kill shot? Like, I can argue against this, but it requires me to lay a lot of groundwork. Is there like a kill shot argument against that?
What are we arguing against?
So, like, I'm born into the United States, and now I'm subject to your laws and your taxation and all of that. I didn't consent to any of that. How could you possibly govern me that way when I didn't consent to this governance? What's like this governing or whatever? What's like a kill shot response to that?
Oh,
It's like
I'm
kind of
not
like
sure.
a. You're what?
I'm not sure if I have like a kill shot response.
Wait, hold on. For your political label, is anarcho anywhere in your fucking title?
No.
Okay. All right. Wait. So you you don't because like I can get there, but it takes me a while to do it. There's not like one easy like get fucked answer or whatever. You have to like go through the work of laying down like some groundwork to do it.
I mean, what's your argument?
Um. Like if I'm forced to respond to that.
Yeah, because it just seems like anybody actually. I mean, like if you were to really go for it, right, you would just say you're not responsible for even living, and therefore, like fuck responsibility altogether. Because I was forced to being born, and then you can take an anti-natalist response, or like I know people even take like pro-suicide responses. So, hey, what's your argument?
I usually come at this from some weird like the idea that like multiple people coming together can create value that individuals on their own can't. So not to be utilitarian, but if we could measure like the total happiness that two individuals could achieve on their own, it would be 10 apiece. Come together, it would be like 50. If we're under the understanding that multiple people coming together can create a better society, and the only way to do this is to make it so that people are like have to be roped into this from birth. We can't have like an opt-in or an opt-out because it for a variety of reasons, it doesn't make sense. Under 18 or whatever, you're not even of an age where you can make these decisions, et cetera, et cetera. But if we're under this kind of like framework, and then I come at it from like a utilitarian or a consequentialist perspective, I basically just say that like in order to create like more value overall for society, everybody essentially is forced to be roped into the government that they're born into. That any alternative to that is going to lead to like an almost absurd reality where either we have to like everybody that's born is going to be like fighting the United States to recapture land from them, or if you're born, then your only other alternatives are to literally leave the country and I don't know, to take land from somebody else or go live in the ocean or some shit. That everything becomes like really absurd if you take that position that just because you're born into a country, you're not necessarily governed by its laws, and that it's not necessarily like an immoral thing because you're getting something in return for it. And this is like I don't know. So it would be something along those. It depends on what particular brand of non-governance they're arguing for, but it would be something along those lines, I think.
Well, I mean, but wouldn't that argument basically be always in favor of the state?
So it would be in favor of the state as long as the state's goals are aligned with whatever your views are, I guess. Maybe this is cheating. This might be circular, but
Yeah, I'm not sure I follow the last bit. So no, what I mean
so
is
what I'm saying is like if the state obviously, so like if you were to try to turn the same argument around and you would say, okay, well, what if the state says you're all born into slavery forever? Now, congratulations, your own argument is used against you. Then I would say like, well, I don't think that you being in a state that provides you with some level of autonomy and uses your taxes to fund that for everybody is the same as a state that enslaves you forever. I think that these things.
Well, no, but I mean, no, even minimally, right? Like you would, let's say that you're not in a full slave society, but you're in like the one that we're right now, one we're right now. So particularly, I mean, so obviously you think that there needs to be some form of change to the state, right?
I do?
Yeah.
Wait, why do you mean obviously, or what do you mean in what way?
Like, I mean, are you completely satisfied with how things are run in the government right now? I don't think any.
Of course not. Yeah.
Yeah. So you would say like you could obviously like make changes to the state, right? You can't just like affirm that the state is something that you should follow just because you're in the state and because you were born in the state and because it allows certain types of things to
for sure
occur. Okay, so you're going to be in some forms anti-state. So they would just say it's a difference of degree, right?
No, I think there's I think that there's a difference between saying like there's a difference between saying like there's an acceptable level of force that you can use to hit your kid versus you should never hit your kid. I think that these are two fundamentally different arguments. It's not a matter of degree. Much the same, I would say there's a fundamental difference between saying states are by definition immoral if you don't consent to them versus a state can exert different levels of control, and along this paradigm it eventually goes from moral to immoral or something. That the saying that like all or nothing, that's not just another flavor of more or less state control. Does that make sense? Do you agree with that or disagree?
Sure. So I guess I can't remember if it was what was it? Was it Nozick who basically made the argument that we have to have at least a minimal form of government.
It
So
seems
you
to be,
think
yeah.
like so you think that there's a necessary requirement of some sort that in order to have a community you have to have some sort of minimal government.
Yeah, that whatever communities would exist absent any government are going to be measurably worse than what we have with government. And then the only way to make government work is to force everybody to buy into it, basically from birth.
Do you think voluntary service is a form of government?
When you say voluntary service, are you talking like military, or what do you mean?
Well, let's just say like that you were to create some sort of society, and like one
Mhm.
way of implementing law would be not through like state governed police force, but basically a voluntary police force. Would this be a minimal form of government?
I don't know if I would be in favor of it or if it'd be effective, but I mean, I guess by definition, it's some minimal form of government, right?
Well, I don't know. Like that's something that I wonder. I don't know if like a voluntary police force would necessarily be something that's operated by the state or just agreed upon by a lot of fucking people, and then they just have a commune
Mm-hmm.
of some sort. Like you have these things called TAZs, which are temporary autonomous zones that open up occasionally,
Mm-hmm.
on like islands or whatever, where people just want to sort of escape society and then they build their own commune. I wouldn't say that those are like necessarily like have a minimal form of government.
Not to try to make like a meme argument against you, but like when you start to grow to levels of complexity where you start to need some third party to arbitrate how these like volunteer forces work and everything, like are you not just essentially constructing some form of government? Like is this or do you think there's a meaningful difference between this?
I don't know. That's basically the question that I'm posing right now. I'm not sure if I
Mm-hmm.
buy into the form of minimal government argument. I haven't like looked into this
Mm-hmm.
particular type of philosophical theory, so
Sure.
it's just something I'm agnostic on.
I have a debate
So
with
I don't
like an anarcho-communist tonight, so I don't know if he's gonna bring up like that consent to government shit. Sounds like antinatalist to me, which is like I hate debating it because I don't honestly even know if you can win those debates. I just don't fucking do them. This shit is cancer.
I haven't debated an would you say anarcho communist or capitalist?
I think he's an anarcho intersectionalist communist, I think is what he is.
Uh,
But I don't know if
there's a
I
lot
don't
of,
know if this is what we're even going to talk about, but it's just something I was curious about.
yeah, we have a few communists within our chat room. I just haven't read enough about it to have a stance yet. I mean, when it comes to political views, I'm not so well read on those as I am like in epistemology, ethics, and metaphysics and ontology and shit like that. So,
Mm-hmm.
but I'm always willing to hear stances. I just don't know how I feel about like the small, like you necessarily need a form of small government in order to have a commune. But I know certain people think that that's like an analytic statement. It's just like the predicate is contained in the subject.
Yeah, wait. So you're saying that you don't necessarily need a small government to have a small commune?
I'm saying I don't know. I don't know if you do.
Oh yeah. Okay. Huh. Okay. All
No.
right. Okay. Cool. I was just wondering. You're disappointing me, but thank you.
I know. I know. I don't have any knockdown arguments for you.
Okay.
I can do some research for you, buddy. Maybe I can come in later on and think about it.
Yeah. Report back. Okay.
All right.
All right. Wait. I'm curious in general for anarcho views. Do you agree that without some sort of third-party arbitration, that like societies would break down like pretty fucking fast, or do you think libertarian arguments are pretty convincing?
That you need, but isn't that basically the same question as before?
Well, no, I'm just asking if you think they're necessary, not like it's justified morally or something. But like whenever I get into arguments with libertarians, I usually start asking questions like, okay, well, what if somebody comes by and buys the bridge and says nobody can travel on it anymore and they destroy your city? Or what if somebody comes by and they buy all the land around you and they say you're not allowed to travel through it? Like, and then or what if somebody steals all your shit and you have nobody to turn to? Like, what do you do? Like, I don't know. Like it feels like you need some sort of like higher power, like something that a bunch of people are vesting power into in order to like enforce anything. Is it what do you or do you think no or?
Well, I definitely think there has to always be some sort of like legal implementation.
Mm-hmm.
So if that's what you mean by that, then yeah, I think that that's a necessity. Because there's just always dicks, right? There's just always some asshat who wants to do something that is not ethical.
Mm-hmm.
But I do think like a certain type of zeitgeist movement can construct certain types of, and this is necessarily true because law can't do all of the body of work that certain types of social norms can, right?
Yeah.
So, any time someone says you like, okay, well, you need necessarily like very stringent laws, that seems very unconvincing because social norms do seem to, exist very heavily, and these, I think, basically, are what regulates society most often.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I mean, that's all I really have to say about that.
Okay.
So have you proved metaphysical materialism yet, Destiny?
Actually, yeah, you should check my paper. It's gonna be published. It's a work in progress, working paper right now. Harvard, go look it up. I'm not gonna tell you anything else about it. Go like, bye, leave.
Okay.
I love you. Have fun.
Have a good one.
Ooh, I like that one. To the non-consent person, what if you were kidnapped and dropped off on a deserted island with a society? You'd still have to live by their rules, but you still hope that society respects your rights like being born. Okay. Okay. It's a good one. I don't know where we go from here. I don't think we're ever gonna agree. You should spend some time with your chat. I'm really curious. If you can find